All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to April's window shopping edition. My name is John, and if you don't know what the series is, basically every month I like to look at the trends of notable items on the central market. And you may be from NA, EU, or a different server, but I still think this is pretty interesting to watch just because you could see the trends on how things are going. As you all know, Black Desert is an event economy driven kind of game. And what that means is, like, if you know some event is coming up that's going to give, like, I don't know, whatever material, you might want to stock up on that in the future. And, or, you know, just things how to see how everything changes over the month. And yeah, so April has been a very exciting month because they decided they want to give out Jace hammers that are sellable on the market. And as we all know, I have a video of that talking about my whole thoughts and opinions on Jace hammers, what you should use it on, and like how it's going to affect the economy, how much I think it's really worth. But for everyone else, whether you're a beginner or at the end game, I hope these items that I talk about are something that you will eventually look at. And if you're a beginner, you're probably thinking about upgrading to this in the future. If you're end game, you're probably thinking, should I get some of these materials for the future? Will it be worth it 6 months down the line, kind of thing? So anyway, yeah, where do we start? I guess we'll start with main hand weapons. And as we all know, Fallen God weapons are going to be coming out in 2024. We don't know any of the stats yet or what it's even going to be, but all of us are suspecting that you need a pen black star, and then it's going to upgrade similar to the Fallen God, more or less. So anyway, what does that have to do with it? If you're a newer player, chances are you have one of the 3 Tet Black Stars because they kind of give it out. It's a permanent thing, so whether you start today or you started 6 years ago, you probably have one. And so, as you guys know, the Jatina quest line got changed over the years, and I have a video of that basically showing you how to do it. But a TLDR is, if you're doing the Jatina quest, it costs about 6.5 billion to basically guarantee a pen. Obviously now it's a lot less on the market, as we can see. So is the Jatina weapon quest worth it? No. Is the armor one worth it? We'll get into that. But anyway, let's talk about Black Stars, because Black Stars are currently the best in slot weapons in the game. And I like to look at the trends and the central market of like what has happened throughout the month, what events have come out. So for Tet Black Stars, for the main hand, it's gone up, I guess. So if we look at in the, like, last month's episode, it was about 10 to 11 billion, and now it's about like 12, let's just say 12 billion. So it's roughly the same. Like, yeah, you might think 2 billion is a lot, but it's really not, even for new players. So chances are, if you're thinking about getting one, you just have to grind an extra hour or two, and then that's it. But usually, main hand weapons are the least profitable of the 3, like main hand, awakening, and sub-weapon. Usually the awaken and sub-weapons are more profitable, but we'll take a look at that as well. So if you're thinking about getting this, or you're picking up your first Tet Black Star from the Guaranteed Questline 61 thing, I would pick this one up if you're going to use it, not because it's profitable. Obviously, you can't even sell the one they give you. But the reasoning why is, let me just show you this from this perspective. So if you look at the awakening weapon, it may look like more AP. But if you look at the accuracy, it's only 12, and you only get that at pen. However, even at Tet level, you get 200 accuracy. And you may be thinking, oh, accuracy versus damage. Whether you're PvPing or PvEing, accuracy is very important. So I do think the main hand weapon is the most important one to get as a new player, just because if you want to do PvP or PvE, some spots will require more accuracy than the others. So, in my opinion, main hand is the most valuable. Next, we're going to talk about awakening weapons. It doesn't matter which one I pick because all the price ranges are like roughly the same. And so, let's see. Let's just pick one that I know. Dandies, once again, if you can buy it for under 6.5 billion, it's worth it. Chances are, if you are at the point where you're thinking about it, I don't think it's a bad choice to get a Dandelion. Just know that eventually you're going to be selling it back. But until that time comes, if you're like a really new player, I don't think it's a bad option. So if you see one on the market for like 2 billion, it'll probably last you a while. So anyway, other than that, awakening weapons. Tet is 14 billion, which is plus 2 billion from the main hand weapon. As of right now, when I'm recording it, it's at a pretty decent spot. If we look at the monthly trend, it's like the highest has been in 3 months. So yeah, if you're enhancing these for profit, just know it's going down a little. I think it usually, I guess over the trends, roughly been about like 13 billion, 13 to 14. So like, it may look like it's at an all-time high, but realistically, looking at this chart, like the average is like 13. So just expect to sell it at somewhere around that point. So if you're going to enhance Black Stars for profit, I think it's either Awakening or Offhand, but we'll look at that one as well. So sub-weapons, offhands, this is where things get a little bit tricky, since Kudum is for PvE and Nuver is for PvP. So let me explain this for a person who doesn't understand or you're just a new player. So why is Kudum better for PvE? The reason why is in the item effect, it's extra AP against monsters plus 62. Now, monster AP and AP is kind of 1-to-1 or like 0.8 to 1. So basically, either way, it would be higher than having a Nuver. And obviously, Nuver is more AP, but it doesn't give you that high AP against monsters. So like if you're PvPing, the AP will do more because players are counted as humans. Makes sense? Very good. So either way, depending on what class you play, if you're evasion or a DR player, chances are you might have one or both of them. Dark Knights have both of them, so I have a Nuver and a Black Star, which is essentially a Kudum, and then there's the Black Star. So let's talk about this. People always ask me, is it worth having a Kudum or Black Star? So if you have a Pen Kudum already, and your other option is getting a Tet Black Star, it's basically the same. Will you notice a difference? Probably not. Like, I'm pretty sure the Black Star gives slightly more AP against monsters, but is it worth like 14 billion versus I guess 8.5 billion? That's up to you. I think it probably is worth it in my opinion, but I'm also an endgame player, and like I get that as a newer player, you're probably thinking, oh, 5-6 billion can be an upgrade for any other slot. So yeah, trust me, I get that. But when the difference is at endgame, if you are looking at, let's say you have a Pen Kudum with Capris 20 in it versus a Pen Black Star. So what would the difference be? Basically what you're trading off is a little bit of accuracy for the item effect monster damage against, like, or extra AP against monsters. So either way, will you notice a difference between the two at very high end? Not really notice, but the damage numbers, if there were any in this game, would be slightly higher with the Black Star. So yes, Black Star is better, but is it noticeable better? No. Unless you're meeting some caps in like AP. So let me show you how this actually works. So pick a spot. It doesn't matter like what spot you're grinding. And let's use this one, for example. View total stats. How do you read this? Recommended AP and DP, 230, 300. What does that mean? You see this number right here? That would be your AP and DP. So when you see total stats, you're like 550, 600, you would look at your stats over here, like all this plus the AP against monsters, plus potentially species and everything, and you would have to be all buffed. And if that number is higher, obviously this is your total stats. So that's how you figure it out. So yes, min-maxing Black Star is better for PvE. That was a long-winded topic, actually. So yeah, depending on a class, and Goddard is the purple version. Basically, Goddard is made as a incremental upgrade. So like, for example, base Goddard versus a Tet Black Star is the same thing. The difference is, instead of going from Tet to Pen, which is kind of difficult, you would go through the Pride of Pen Goddard, and Pen Black Star, exactly the same thing. It's just a journey to get there is, you know, how it goes. So in my opinion, is Goddard worth it? I have a video on that. You can watch that. I'll leave it in the description if you're interested. And so we'll just leave it at that. If you're interested in more detailed explanations of what stacks to use to enhance, is it actually worth it? How much are you saving and losing if you're selling it back? I'll leave that link in the description. All right, next let's talk about armors. This one pretty interesting because I talk about this every month and I like to look at the trends. So eventually your end game goal is to have full Fallen God armors, or I guess what they call it is Slumbering Origin armor. That's the set effect name. Why? I don't know. So anyway, let's talk about this. No matter what piece of armor you have in the Fallen God set category, your goal is to get it to Tet, eventually Pen. If you have Pen, you basically got Omega boosted, and most people do not have it. So yeah. Anyway, I'll tell you what stacks I use to enhance mine. Like every single one of these has my name on it. I made it Tet by myself, so I did it 4 times, and I can tell you what stacks I used on it. From base to Pry, you can start at 80 to 100. They kind of give out 100s like candy these days. I would probably recommend start on like an 80. And then from Pry to Duo, I'd recommend starting at like a 120, going up to like a 150-ish. And then from Duo to Try, I would start at 150, go to like, you could probably go to 200 to be honest. And then from Try to Tet, you kind of just use the highest one you can, because the reasoning why I would use a high stack, I personally use 245 to 270, is Tet Fallen God is worth a lot more than a Tet Black Star. So I think for most people, you will be able to get a Tet Fallen God cheaper than buying it off the market for 200 billion, assuming you cron every attempt, that is. So yeah, I think for most people, this is one of the rare items that I would say you should enhance from Try to Tet yourself, because I think most people on average can make it cheaper than the current price. So with that said, those are the stacks I used. Try to Tet, 245 to 280. So how do you get there if you're making it yourself and not buying everything? You use either the Fallen God or the Gaiath. I personally think the Gaiath is slightly better. Nowadays, in 2024, does it really matter which one you get? No, I would choose the Griffin over the Gaiath. Simply because the Griffin has an effect of 5% resistances, whereas the max HP is 100. So because this game has so many classes and it's like pretty hard to balance them all, that 100 HP does not actually mean anything. However, being able to have that 5% resistance of a CC and just not die is worth more than 100 HP. Will you notice it? Probably not, but it is slightly better if you hit that 5%. Just, it is what it is. Chances are you won't even notice it most of the time. But anyway, if you're trying to Capris it yourself, get the one that's cheaper. This one is, well, one sold earlier for almost 17 billion. That's kind of a lot, actually. So 17 billion for that. And for the Gaiath, it is one sold for 15. Yeah, at the end of the day, just get whichever one at pen is cheaper and then slam it with the Capris until it's C10 and then make it yourself. But in terms of like which one is better, I think Griffin is. Next, we have armors. The same fail stacks apply to all the Fallen God pieces that we talked about earlier. But the difference is Red Nose is cheaper to Capris, as in like it requires less Capris stones. But one thing we have to look at is the pen price of it. So right now, pen Red Nose is, well, I guess one sold today for 17.5 billion. Keep that in mind. Dim Tree sold for, well, let's say 13 billion. So the 4 billion you actually save will actually be more in Capris, because I think it requires like 1,000 extra Capris, maybe a little bit more. I don't know the exact number. So you're gonna have to do the math and figure out how many Capris stones it would take to get to Capris 10 from each of them, and then just calculate how much it is. So these two have a different amount. Why? I don't know. These two armors were in the game since the beginning. Well, I guess like the first year or so. So these are some of the oldest items in the game, whereas if we look at the helmets again, Griffin was not added until Kama Sylvia, whereas Gaiath has been in the game since, I guess, the start. But these two items have been in the start, so it works a little bit differently. So just figure it out. Get whichever one costs the least, and then, or if you want to skip it, that entire process, just save up money. And if you were buying a Fallen God, I would buy that duo, enhance it to Tet yourself. All right, Beggs and Lieber. This is where things branch off into evasion and DR. So DR and evasion. How do you know if your class is evasion? No matter what class you play, you would look at your passive abilities, and if your passives, do they give a lot of evasion, then you are essentially an evasion class. If it does not, then you're a DR class. That's just a very blanket statement. Obviously, things change. If you don't know which one, just ask in the comments. I'll point you in the right direction. Very easy. But, so either way, at the end of the day, your ultimate goal is to get the Dahn gloves. I think that's how you pronounce it. Green and, or blue and green. So blue is the DR version, green is the evasion. And this is where things get a little bit tricky in terms of like a beginner trap. So let's look at this, for example. A pen begs, it goes to the blue one eventually when you upgrade, right? So remember these numbers. 60 DP is what it gives, and then 20 or 50 accuracy, but it also costs 17 billion silver, right? When you look at Lieber's, you see 62 DP, but it has half the accuracy, and it costs 13 billion silver. So a new player would be like, oh, okay, so this one gives more DP, which is sheet stats, and it's cheaper. So like logic makes sense, right? You would get the cheaper one that gives more stats. However, honestly, for most people, that extra 25 accuracy is actually worth a lot, even if it doesn't give 2 extra AP, or no, DP. So remember when we were talking about like Black Star weapons, and I told people that the weapon is better because it gave 200 accuracy versus like 12? This is where it really plays in as well. So there's a reason why Beggs is more expensive, because accuracy is actually worth more than the 2 DP that you get. And this is more of a like mid to late game problems, but either way, when in doubt, just get the Beggs. But if you're Caprising it, like let's say you saved up 30 billion, are you DR? Are you evasion? You get the one that works for your class. And even if you got the wrong one, you can exchange blue for green and at the morning light thing. And so you've never made a mistake. So let's say you want to reroll or something, you are DR, but you want to play an evasion class. You can swap it, so it's not a big deal either way. So just get whichever one works for you. All right, shoes. Ator shoes. These are the newest and the final set that or like the most recent one that came out. And this is the one you should be going for last of the Fallen God because these are the most expensive. And so it also is, if you're grinding it out yourself, you get it from the Dark Seekers. Shoes are, yeah, Dark Seekers. And it is like a very high-end grind spot, so that's why it's so expensive. It kind of brings in the whole beginner trap as well, like 79 DP for 18 billion silver versus 77 for 14, right? You see like where people can get confused as a beginner. So either way, kind of like the gloves where you go bags or Liber, the important thing to look at is the amount of accuracy versus damage reduction, or DP, I guess. So just because this one has more or less doesn't mean it's better. Chances are you want to get this one because like damage reduction is important. And if you have like a hybrid, you can't just, it doesn't balance that way. So it's one of those things you kind of like just trust me on that one. So it's hybrids in this game. It works for some classes, but not every class. So that's important to know. So either way, same thing like the gloves, whether you choose green or blue, you can swap it between each other. So it's not like you've ever made a wrong mistake. And yeah, that's about it. Ator shoes are very expensive. And I think these are the ones where saving up 200 billion is very hard for most people, myself included, and you can probably make it cheaper than you can enhancing it or buying it. All right, so let's talk about accessories. I kind of want to just speed run through this one because as time goes on, the right accessories are kind of narrowing down, and I'll talk to you about all like changes and things I've noticed as trends. So first and foremost, right now, Tungrads are the highest AP in the game. Like if you're just going glass cannon AP, Tungrads are the way to go. If you are a beginner, Crescent Rings are the easy to get and free one, just by like the Jatina quest. So if you're a new player and you hear people say Jatina accessories, it's basically this thing. It's called Old Moon now, and basically you just do that and get the guaranteed one. I'm very lucky that I've been playing this game for a long time, to the point where I know that like I'll just get this whenever I get it. I'm not in a rush to get it, so that's always good. So I have a video talking about which of the three you like. There's no right or wrong answer. You can always exchange them between one of these three. And my opinion is, if you are a new player, get the Crescent Rings, because chances are it'll put you up into a new AP bracket. And what does AP bracket mean? You see this number right here, like 326 plus 205. That number in the bracket goes up by 4 every time. So like whenever this number right here, your sheet, goes up by plus 4, it'll put you into a new bracket in your stats. So that's what it means. So new players, chances are the ring will put you up into a new bracket. Narc Earring is actually a very solid choice because there's a lot of good grind spots in Kama Sylvia. And if you were to calculate 8 plus 15, it is actually more. Well, it's actually 0.8 at plus 15. So technically, it's still better in Kama Sylvia areas. This one is just overall a good choice. And Tungrad earrings are in a weird spot because it's not that they're bad. It's just the least useful. And like, Black Spirit Rage is something that is so specific to the point where you have to have the other pieces to actually make a noticeable difference. And so for most people, like earrings are going to be like your flex spot where you change out a lot of things. So like if you had to choose one or the other, I would honestly choose an Narc earring over a Tungrad earring. But either way, just exchanges, and if you chose the wrong one, just choose the right one or the one that works for you. So yeah. trends on that. Ocean Haze is for evasion exclusive builds. This has like 0 offensive, just DP and evasion. So chances are, if you have this, you are exclusively a PvPer, and you have a very specific endgame build for it. Otherwise, if you don't, this is not for you. Tungrad's the highest AP. These are actually going down drastically because ever since they announced Labreska rings coming out in the near future, people are like panic selling. This is actually one of those things where I don't think these are bad items. I just think that a lot of people are at the end game and they're just kind of selling them because they're trying to prepare for Labreskas in the future. So with that said, even right now for me, I still have 2 Tungrads and they're still good. Like, I don't think Labreska rings are going to be easy to get, so you can get them, but it won't be easy in the future. So with that said, right now there's no Labreska. I think just if you have a Crescent right now at Pen, I think that's fine. If you're looking to upgrade into Tungrad, that's also fine. But one thing I want to look at is Pen Eye of the Ruins. This has crashed very hard over the past like 1 month. So it went from like 40 billion down to 25. That's kind of scary, actually. Well, so did a lot of other accessories, but either way, I think right now, if you need a placeholder or more defensive stats, an Eye of the Ruin is a very solid one because at Pen you get 130 extra HP per ring times 2, and then you could put the cups on it for another like 500 or something, or like 250. So anyway, if you want more glass cannon, put you up into a new AP bracket, Tungrads are fine. It is also double the price for 1. Then you can get to Eye of the Ruins. Ominous rings have tanked very hard from 150 billion to 88. That's kind of scary. Even in the past few months, I talked about accessory or accuracy accessories super crashing, and it's very scary, especially if you're trying to enhance them. So do I think accuracy accessories are good? If you are a PvPer, they are, but if you are strictly grinding, probably not. So yeah, it's one of those things you probably should choose between Crescent, Eye of the Ruins, or Tungrad, and then you'll be fine. Just depends on what kind of build you have. All right, so going into the necklaces, Tungrad, Ogre, and Leighton, they are all the same thing. What is the difference? Tungrad necklace gives Black Spirit Rage. The rest of these, everything, like, you see that? That's not a good sign. So the thing is, I think that Labreskas are something that people should just go for, like, nowadays. Simply because if you are at the end game or transitioning into end game, it is not a dead end upgrade. For example, if you get a Pen Ogre, that's cool. You saved like 40 billion from a Devo, right? However, when it's time to upgrade, you have to sell this back and the prices keep going down. So right now you'll probably get like 35 bill if you sell it back. That's kind of scary. I remember buying my Ogre at like 85 billion. I sold it back at 60 billion and then now to 40. So like either way, I lost money. Labreskas, they're also going down, but at the same time, currently Labreskas are the best in slot, and like if you get a Tet, like it's still good and it's not a dead end upgrade. You eventually have to upgrade it. So for most people, I would recommend getting a Tet Devo. Yes, it costs more, but it's not a dead end upgrade. Eventually your goal is to get Pen, and yeah, it's rough. So that's what I would recommend for all of you guys out there to do. Whether like all 3 accessories, even the rings in the future, just get a Tet and then wait to see what happens. The one thing that I would recommend is the Tungred necklace. Why? Because eventually, in the future update, they're going to be changing it. So if you have like a 5-piece Tungred accessory set, you get more AP. Similar to how if you wear a 3 set on a Labreska, you get more AP. However, they want to make Black Spirit Rage more viable, which is mostly in PvP. And so we'll see how that plays out in the future. But for most of us, the answer is either Tungred necklace or Labreska. Accuracy accessory, it's at a very scary spot. Like, now is not really the time to be buying, because I think these are going to go down even further. So wait till it like equalizes out even further before buying it. All right, let's talk about belts next, because earrings are the flex spot we'll talk about. So similar to before, you know how we talked about Eye of the Ruins versus Crescent Ring and everything. So Basilisk belts are basically the belt version of a Crescent Ring. Altara is the belt version of the Eye of the Ruins. And Labreskas are, Tungreds are, obviously Tungreds. But I don't think these are ever really worth it. So, like always with the necklaces, I'd recommend most people just buy a Tet Debo, and when the time comes to go for pen, I hope you're prepared, because this one is kind of, like, Labreska accessories right now are pretty scary. So, the one thing might be the Tabex belt. This one is PvP exclusive. That's the only time I've seen it. So how does it work? If you equip it, you see the little skill at the bottom. It gives you an extra like skill that gives you a buff. Basically your E buffs, your Z buff, whatever like skill class. And for a 1-minute burst window, you basically go hard, and then for the next 10 minutes, you cannot unequip the belt, so you're stuck with a little bit less AP, but it's good for like buffing your group and going in for PvP. It's a very exclusive and unique belt. So do I think it's bad? No, not at all. It's just really situational to the point where most people won't actually use it. So with that said, Turo belt is accuracy. It's kind of still going down. Be very skeptical of any accessory that's accuracy at the moment, and then you'll see how it goes in the future. And earrings is where things get a little bit complicated, because there's a lot of weird choices. Like, for example, the Narc earring is the one you get from the Old Moon guaranteed. Tungrad, same thing. Vaha's Dahn and Black Distos are the same thing, but they just look different. How you get them is Star Zen versus Ataraxian Dungeons. And yeah, so Distos are best in slot earrings for straight up AP. It may be going down in price, but it's still good. I paid 180 billion for mine. Just want all of you to know that. And then Labreska earrings are kind of weird, because eventually you're going to have a 5-piece on it. So that means you're going to have at least one earring at the end game. So if I were to predict how it's going to go, everything is going to be like this. You replace the Tungred rings with Labreska rings, which is easier said than done. And then your earrings are going to be a Pendisto and one Labreska. Otherwise, if you're PvPing and it's accuracy, you want to go Dahn. So there's a reason why these are still expensive, is because earrings are the most flexible. When it comes to accuracy accessories, what you think of is you exchange, or like how much, what is the trade-off of accuracy versus AP in PvP? And Dahn earrings are probably going to be the biggest flex spot, because distortions are going to be that one like unique piece that doesn't fit into the set. So yeah, that's where things are going to be tricky to play out. So do I think Debos are good? I would recommend everyone to get at least one Labreska, whether at Tet or Pen. A Disto, at least one. And if you're a full PvPer, wait for the Dawns to go down a little bit before buying it and see how it goes. But anyway, that's all the accessories. What else do I want to talk about? Alchemy Stones real quick. As we all know, Velos Heart is, for about 99% of players, going to be best in slot. Anyone in the 1%, you're going to be going for a Splendid. And if you are a new player, what would I do? Do the Ulukita questline. Get this thingy. It's free. You just do a questline. It's 1 AP. Basically the same as the Vel, but, you know, not as good. But it's not 20 billion. So, I have my thoughts and opinions on whether the Khan's Heart is worth it up to Velos Heart. In my opinion, should you get a Khan's Heart of Destruction, does this 2 AP, or if you have the, what is it, the old Power Stone, does 1 AP put you into a new bracket? If yes, then it's worth the 4 billion you're about to spend. If it doesn't, then it's not worth it. I would recommend going from the Power Stone straight to Vel for most people, simply because it'll give you, you know, just straight up more stats overall on use, and then you won't have to sell this one back. But it's very exclusive. Do I think the Khan's Heart is bad? No, it's not bad, but if it doesn't put you into a new bracket, it's not really worth it. Just save up for a Vel, and you won't have to sell it back and lose taxes on anything else later. Otherwise, if you're a new player and you like life skilling, use these life stones. They're not bad. Just use them. Like, yeah, they may run out, but it's like 1 mil, 2 mil, just buy another one. And then, yeah, very easy. Aside from that, everything else is basically, like, different. If you want to know my thoughts and opinions and artifacts and everything, I have an exclusive video, and you guys can find that. Just search up, like, a lot of things you want. You can even join the Discord. And in my Discord, I have a channel for basically all the guides and stuff that I try to keep updated. And whether you're a person that just doesn't like talking or doesn't like commenting, you can just join the Discord. I have a channel for all my guides that I try to keep updated. You don't even have to talk to anyone. You just find the video and watch the one you want to see. Otherwise, if you need help, we have a gear help channel and Q&A, so just ask me for advice and then I'll try to point you in the right direction. Otherwise, you can drop it in YouTube comments as well and I'll try to get back to you. So, with that said, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed all of this, and I know it was a lot of information, but this game has a lot of dumb, unexplainable things that you kind of just have to sit through for hours learning it. I've been playing this game for basically 8 years. I didn't have all these guides to help me when I first started. So it was like, I just kind of had to figure it out myself. And I just try to share all my knowledge with you guys. So with that said, thanks so much for watching. Whether you're new, returning, or someone who's just looking to get better, I hope my videos help you. And I would love to see you guys come back. Hit that subscribe button, drop a quick like, and I will see you tomorrow. Hope you have a fantastic day. Peace.